Hi, I'm Turk Strongman at Therankiramaturaka. Thank you for selecting this video on possessiveness and jealousy in romantic relationships. Before continuing, a few formalities. Number one, if you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. And finally, click on the notification bell, please, and share the joy of this channel with others. Now, jealousy and possessiveness in romantic relationships. This applies mostly to marriage, but premarital romantic relationships as well. I say mostly marriage because for adults, grown-ups, if this is going to come about, if this is going to show up, this kind of behavior, this kind of thinking, this kind of emoting and feeling is going to come up, it's probably going to be once the papers are signed. Anyway, my point is jealousy-based possessive behavior in large is not constructive to a healthy and happy relationship. It does not engender good feeling in a marriage or in any romantic relationship. It might be suitable for a school a school kid, but being a grown-up, that's a different story. Now, a spouse who such behavior is directed toward might not say much about it if it's going on. Because, well, there are various reasons why. They may not say much about it, but still quite likely will feel uncomfortable. It depends to the degree to which this occurs, of course. But, and there may be also there may be a healthy measure of such behavior. In other words, it's just a little of it. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when it makes people uncomfortable. If you are somebody who acts this way in your romantic relationship, probably you're feeling uncomfortable. So probably your spouse or your mate feels uncomfortable about it too, the person who you direct this kind of behavior toward. Regardless, as I said, whether the other person says much about it. I mean, you're the person that your spouse has to live with, answer to, and sleep with every day, every night. So the person might just go along with it and not say much, but still feel uncomfortable. It does tear down trust. It shows a lack of trust or a shortage of trust in the relationship. It also is rather controlling, which can be pretty uncomfortable for both people, really. I mean, there's a little bit of guilt that can go with it if you're the controller and you're controlling the other person, in this way. And the other person, most people don't like to feel like they're under someone else's control all the time. But this jealousy and possessive behavior, I was in a marriage once. It was a horrible marriage that lasted 3 years, and the most memorable horrible aspect of it was involved extreme, on my wife's part, extreme jealousy and possessiveness. I couldn't change lanes in town while we were in a car and I was driving. I couldn't change lanes. If there was a woman on the other side of the street walking on the sidewalk and I needed to look that way in order to change lanes, and me not even notice the woman over there, well, my wife would jump up my butt and down my throat on the grounds that, in her opinion, I was changing lanes as an excuse to ogle and drool over this woman, and she would bring it up for several months in bed every night when it was time for sexual activity or even the thought of sexual activity, she'd bring it up, and this was a horrible thing. It went on. There were new cases of showing up of this, incidents coming up with her nearly daily, and each one would go on for at least a month. This was a horrible thing. It was one of the main things that led to the dissolution of our marriage. So I kind of know what I'm talking about here, and I bring up that example because I consider it to be kind of an extreme example. There was no violence. It could have been more extreme, but you don't have to be that extreme with it to still be guilty of it if you do this kind of thing. You can be protective of your relationship. You can help to shield your spouse if your spouse is vulnerable to being, to being led into situations with others that your spouse doesn't really want to get involved in. Situations that may become problematic. Somebody else trying to get in your spouse's pants, or stalking, any of these kind of things. You can be helpful, to point out your perceptions of affairs, regarding your spouse and some other person. Maybe your spouse, thinks somebody else is just being nice, but what you see is that person is trying to, interrupt your marriage. All right, so you can point these things out, but you don't have to be a controlling, possessive, jealous-based jerk over it. Be a grown-up about this. Be a grown-up. I guess that's about it. I'm Theron Q. Ramacharaka, and this is Theron Q. Ramacharaka. I'm Turk Strongman. Remember the thumb up thing, subscribe, and so forth. Comment if you like. Oh, one last note. This channel is about self-mastery, personal evolvement, establishment of true selfhood, movement away from consciousness hijacking, and perception deception. Jealous, possessive, controlling behavior in a romantic relationship have nothing to do with self-mastery and the rest that I just named. Well, yeah, they do have something to do with it. They work against self-mastery, personal evolvement, constructive personal evolvement, movement toward true selfhood, and movements away from consciousness hijacking and perception deception. That's their relationship with one another. So if you have interest in those affairs, and you are of the jealous and possessive type, outwardly especially, behaviorally in your romantic relationship, then try to knock it off. It doesn't lead to a happy marriage. At least there's that. All right. This is Theron Q. Ramacharaka. I'm Turk Strongman. Be well.